Hey guys, what's going on? I've been playing Loba quite a bit, as I'm sure you know if you've stopped by the streams or just from watching the background footage of my videos, you probably know. And so I wanted to share just a little bit of the knowledge that I've gained playing her. And in this video, which is going to be a part one of a two-part series, I want to go into detail about some of the specifics of her abilities. Now, in the next video, I'm going to actually be talking about gameplay, how you can apply this to playing in order to outsmart your enemies and that kind of thing. But in this video, I want to specifically look at her bracelet, how it interacts with certain other abilities, although I'm not going to go too far into detail about that. And then I also just wanted to talk briefly about her black market, talk about how much health it has, talk about how much range it has, talk about how it interacts with other abilities. And then I found something really interesting that I don't think actually anybody's talked about. I haven't seen it on Reddit at all, and that is that there's actually a time limit on Loba's bracelet. But we'll get into that and how I figured that out in a second. I first do just want to start off with talking about some of the more basic stuff about Loba's bracelet. So this has been a pretty long intro, so let's get into firing range and figure some stuff out. So the first thing is that I found that an absolute max range of Loba's bracelet is about 110 meters. I stood up here and I stood in other areas of the map and I could not get it past that. So I'm sure there is a spot on the map where you might be able to, but I couldn't figure it out. Now, the next thing that I want to show you guys is probably the most important aspect of this entire video, and that is that if you throw Loba's bracelet and then bounce off the nearest wall, you can immediately take your weapon out and start firing. Now, I showed you what it's like to do it that way, but now look at how slow it is if you don't jump off that wall. And now I'm going to actually compare the two of them. I'm going to have one on the top and one on the bottom, and just watch for yourself, because I think it really speaks to how much faster it is. I get an entire Wingman magazine out before I land and get that shot off. I also want to show you guys how Loba's bracelet interacts with Watson's pylon though, because it's kind of a little bit funky. Because you can throw your bracelet over the top or next to the pylon as long as it doesn't land within the boundaries of its silencing. So you can't throw it anywhere in that radius. Obviously, you can't land it on top of the pylon, but you can throw it really far over the top, really far to the side. And so I'm excited to figure out how this will play into competitive matches where there's going to be a lot of Watsons in buildings. Will you be able to throw it down a staircase or throw it at the bottom of a staircase and then rush up the stairs? Anything like that. So I am really hyped for that. But the important part to note with throwing it around these pylons is that you just get the bracelet back. The pylon doesn't eat it like it does a grenade or an ultimate. So you have basically an unlimited amount of attempts to get past the pylon, which is very interesting. Now let's get into Octane's jump pad, and this is where I found that new time limit that I was telling you guys about. So there's multiple things that happen if you throw Loba's bracelet at the jump pad, depending on how close you are or how far you are. So if you throw it from a very close range, you saw that it bounces and you just go right up top. Now I'm throwing it from about a medium range, and as you can see, I just immediately bounce on the jump pad. But I found a spot over here by this rock where if I throw the bracelet, it actually bounces up and moves forward a little bit more. And so as soon as I saw this, I got the idea of, what if I chain jump pads? If I put like a whole bunch of jump pads down, how far can I get this bracelet to keep bouncing? And you'll see in a second that something really interesting happens actually. And it's happened to me in game before where my bracelet is timed out, but I never knew that it was a timer. I thought maybe it's just too far or something like that. But you'll see, and I'm going to show you again and I'm going to get closer. But when I throw this bracelet, it bounces off the one jump pad, and then it bounces off the second jump pad, and then it actually just goes right back. And just like when it's deactivated by the pylon, it just goes right back, and you have it charged up again. It doesn't take any time out of it. So that's all of the things I wanted to show you about the bracelet. So let's hop over And the first thing I want to show you guys with the black market, or ShopRite as I like to call it, is that it has 90 health. And this is very important because coming up in a second, I'm actually going to show you some tricks with it. But first, before we do that, it has a range of 160 meters in diameter. So you'll see I ping 80 meters to one side and then 80 meters to the other side. So yeah, you have 160 meters in all directions. And another really interesting aspect about it, as you'll see here, is that it's a perfect cylinder, which means it doesn't matter how high up you are, because everything underneath you will still get sucked into ShopRite. I figured out this like really weird glitch where if you go to put down the black market and you just hold click instead of just clicking once, you just like perpetually hits the whoa, which I think is pretty funny. But you'll see I can still take all of those items out from underneath me. And for this one, I actually switched it into third person because it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. But you can use the black market to block up to 90 damage, obviously, before it gets destroyed, which is really interesting because look at how big its hitbox is. That whole blue area is the hitbox. So you can really, if you're standing, get behind it. If you're crouching, get behind it. And it just fully blocks those shots. And I even showed a little bit before that if you go right up to it and look at the ground, your head is 100% covered, which means you cannot get headshotted, which actually might give you a little bit of an advantage if somebody has a Kraber and they're sniping at you, because it's obviously a lot better to take a body shot than it is to take a headshot if you're standing out in an open field. Now, I also want to show you how it interacts with two other abilities which deal damage, and the first one is caustic gas. But the thing that I found really interesting with this is that it deals damage to the black market, but it actually destroys it significantly faster than I thought it would, because it says it's only dealing 1 damage or 2 damage, but it destroys it in under 30 seconds, which is crazy to me because it has 90 health. So I think there's actually some kind of bug going on with how much damage it's doing versus how much damage it's showing, because it doesn't make sense for it to only deal like 40 or 50 damage and destroy it when it has 90 health. And the other last ability that I wanted to try was Crypto's EMP, because as we know, it destroys Watson fences, it destroys Watson pylons, and it destroys caustic traps, but it actually doesn't do anything to Loba's black market. So that's the first part of this tutorial for Loba. I wanted to go more advanced into her abilities and how they interact with other things, how you can use them more effectively, especially with the wall jumping one. That one is incredibly effective. But I'm going to go into more gameplay applications when I do a second part to this video, which will be coming out pretty soon. So if you do want to see that and you don't want to miss it when I release it, make sure to hit the subscription button and ring that bell. That way you know as soon as I post. I do put up videos every single day of the week. So if you're not already, please join the club. We'd love to have you here. However, that's going to be it for me for this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something and were entertained. You can catch me live about an hour after this video comes out, so come hang out. But until then, take it easy.
That wasn't good.
It's just one more. Yeah, I would see one.
Oh! Nice.